Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Tyree from On the Hot Podcast. Today, this is going to be the Combat Series episode 33 for you guys today. Of course, this episode is going to be coming out on all four of our platforms, our Instagram account, our Facebook account, our YouTube account, and our Apple Podcast account. So let's go ahead and dive into the first segment of the Combat Series this week. I'll be sharing my UFC 297 main event fight summary that took place in the UFC between Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis. So we saw that Dricus Du Plessis became the new middleweight champion in the UFC Saturday night, taking place in Combat Sports. Dricus Du Plessis became the new middleweight champion, defeating Strickland by by split decision in a 5 championship round grueling fight to become the new middleweight champion in the UFC today. So it was a very controversial fight, but rewatching the fight, I do have to say Dricus Du Plessis was the right decision, and he was the right man that got his hand raised Saturday night in that main event at UFC 297 against Strickland to become the new middleweight champion in the UFC. And truly, Dricus Du Plessis proved me wrong. I said last week on the Combat Series I was not faithful in him, and I was not faithful in his gas tank to hang and survive and swim with Strickland in a 5 championship round fight. He proved me wrong. That was the only thing that he has yet to prove in his UFC run. Did he have a true cardiovascular endurance gas tank to go the distance and fight Strickland for a total of 5 championship rounds? And he did that. He landed clean strikes on Strickland. He landed some jabs. He landed some head kicks, body kicks. He out-wrestled him, landed some clean shots on Strickland. Now, the argument, what a lot of people out there watching, listening, will say Strickland won this fight. Did he outland Dricus Du Plessis? Yes, but Dricus Du Plessis did score a total of 6 takedowns to Strickland's 0. He also had the ground control for 2 minutes compared to Strickland, who had 0 minutes of ground control. When you add that up and you add up the shots that Dricus Du Plessis did land in a close, very close fight, when you have the amount of shots that Dricus Du Plessis landed, when you add in the takedowns that he landed compared to 6 compared to Strickland's 0, when you add in the ground control of Dricus Du Plessis having a total of 2 minutes on the ground compared to Strickland's 0, and a very close 5 championship rounds, this is the fight this is the decision that I agree with Dricus Du Plessis winning the fight against Strickland and become the new middleweight champion in the UFC. But the fight was very brutal. You can see Dricus Du Plessis' eye was closed shut. Man, he had his right eye it's a black eye, barely open. The left eye is nearly just as damaged as the right eye. And Strickland, we all know the man was bleeding from his right eye for mainly the entire fight of that fight. It was a grueling fight. Would I love to see these two run it back in the near future by the end of 2024? Hell yes. And I think that's what the middleweight division needs, but I don't think it's just going to happen just yet. So with that being said, what should be next for Dricus Du Plessis? I do believe that a future fight with Israel Adesanya, it should be next for Dricus Du Plessis. And I think that fight would deliver as early as UFC 300 in springtime of 2024. Now, I do understand that would be a very quick turnaround for DDP, who just went through a grueling fight at UFC 297 with Strickland to become the middleweight champion. But he said in the press conference it would be worth the turnaround to give the UFC fans what they want to see, and that's a showdown with Israel Adesanya for the middleweight championship taking place in the UFC. And I think that would be a marquee fight to have on the UFC 300 pay-per-view card. This was a fight, the fight between DDP and Israel Adesanya was truly the fight that we were supposed to see for the middleweight championship very soon in the middleweight division. If you guys remember, DDP defeated Robert Whittaker in May of 2023, and he was rightfully the #1 contender for the title. Israel Adesanya was the champion, but ended up defending the title against Strickland in September 2023. We all know what happened. So let's run this fight. Let's give the fans what they want to see between the two Nigerian fighters, the 2 African fighters between DDP and Israel Adesanya. I think that would be a great first test for for DDP to defend the middleweight championship, and I think that's a great return fight for Israel Adesanya to get back the championship that he has held for quite some time in the UFC. I think that's a big marquee match for UFC 300. So what's next for the former champion Sean Strickland? Now, I think there is some possibilities for Sean Strickland. I do believe that Sean Strickland could take some time off and see how the middleweight division plays out, because there's a lot of big-time names, a lot of marquee names. As you guys know, I said that to me in 2024, the biggest the biggest division in the UFC will be the middleweight division. I think it'll be the most exciting division in the UFC this year. So we could truly let things play out and see how the division's going to go. Or he can have a stay busy fight in the division as he's waiting for an opportunity to have a rematch for the middleweight championship. So, and Dana White said at the press conference at the end of UFC 297 at the press conference that he's not thinking about giving Sean Strickland an automatic rematch just yet. That's why I said just a few moments ago, I think DDP versus Israel Adesanya as early as the UFC 300 makes the most sense. If you're not going to give Sean Strickland an automatic rematch against DDP just yet for the middleweight championship. So we'll see what DDP and Sean Strickland will be up to after their grueling, memorable UFC 297 showdown. That is my fight summary between Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis at the main event of UFC 297.